Hi, my name is Charlotte Mallett. Welcome to this month's Stampin' Society. I'm going to show you how to create a fun fall card for our theme of seasons this month using the Ringed with Nature bundle. This card is full of texture. We're going to do a little bit of blending, some watercolor. Let's get started. First, we're going to emboss. You're going to want to emboss a sheet of crumb cake and a sheet of soft suede, and then we're going to die cut the tree rings out using the dies, or you can hand cut them out here. What we're looking for is a darker edge around the tree and a lighter edge for the wood on the inside. This die will chop out all the tree rings, and these interior dies will chop out the interior. So let's do that. All right, we have these two pieces. This will layer in here, but let's add some blending to the outside edge of this interior crumb cake piece. We're going to need a blending brush, piece of scrap paper so that our desk doesn't get too messy, and then a little bit of crumb cake for this piece here. And we might even do soft suede for this piece on the outside, but let's just see. We'll open that ink up. We're going to use a block to get the ink, to push the ink into the bristles after we dip into here. That way we don't get hard, harsh edges. But really all we're trying to do right now is just add a little dimension to this piece. So let's get started. Add a little bit of ink, push it into the bristles, test it. There's a little bit there. And then we're just going to kind of go around the outside edges, making the outside of the tree rings a little bit darker than the interior. Oh, that got real dark there. Working in a circular motion. And maybe one more time. It's hard to see the color, but you know the color's coming on because you can see it on the white paper. Very good. It's a little dark on the outside, lighter on the inside. And we'll see how that looks. That looks nice. Well, let's do the same thing with this one with soft suede. So I'm going to use the same brush because I've already inked it up with the lighter color. We'll set that over. And we're just going to, on the outer edge, just maybe add some dimension. Not a lot. And on this, let's come in. Just like bark on the tree is a little bit variegated and darker in some areas. That's all we're going to do here. And we're just using this as a paintbrush, really, to flick around that outside edge. That looks nice. Maybe we'll add a little more right through here. Okay, let's adhere these two together. I'm just going to put some Stampin' Seal on the back. You can use any type of adhesive you'd like. I'm just going to generously put it in the center. And then we're going to line it up like so to create this one piece of wood embellishment. That looks great. We're going to set it aside. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take the leaf dies and we're going to chop out, and I've done this for sake of time, a bunch of these in crumb cake. Let's pop these out here. We're going to do more blending this time around. This is a leaf and a twig together. The twig we'd like to be darker, and the leaf, want to just add a tinge of like turned of fall color, like the leaves have turned. That guy needs to pop out of there. Move these out of the way. And I'm going to flip this over so you can actually see this a little bit better. Let me start around. You're going to need another blending brush, and this time a little bit of Old Olive. I want a yellow green because I'd like the leaves to look like they are, you know, dying. Not really in a bad way, but you know what I'm saying, changing color. And we're going to use a Post-it note so that we only are coloring the leaf. Let's grab our block again. We'll ink up some of this. And we're just adding a little bit of green to the brown, so you have the brown kind of coming through. And maybe just for darkness, we could go a little bit dip, and that looks good. Same thing on the other side, just reuse the Post-it. We'll clean up this. Now we don't need to clean our brushes yet. The ink's fine to sit on them because we're going to use blending for another piece on this card. When you are ready to clean though, really just water and a little bit of soap, rub them, dry them upside down so all the water dries out the bottom, and they become usable again for another color. Okay, let's move these pieces out of the way. We're basically building all the components for our card. Now we're going to create the background. This is Fluid 100 watercolor paper. It's cut in half, so it's 3.5 by 5. I'm going to pour a little water into a bowl. Even though we're going to be using a water brush, for this first step, I'd like a lot of water, so I don't want to have to squeeze so much. So I'm just going to soak this paper good and wet. Just like so. Okay. And then we are going to mount up the flower image from this set. And we're going to stamp it in 3 different colors. We want the ink to just kind of bleed. So we'll stamp in the lightest color first, and we'll stamp it over in this direction here. So this first color is Daffodil Delight. And once I'm just going to tack that down, stamp in the middle. Muddy mess, right? But it's going to be really pretty, trust me. Now we'll stamp in Calypso Coral, kind of over the top. Ink that up. Come in this direction. More of a muddy mess. Clean off your stamp. And then Cajun Craze for our last. We'll take that down here. So we have 3 fall or autumn toned colors that these flowers have created. And they're just kind of mimicking mums or the colors of fall. It really doesn't have to be a literal flower. And the reason it's okay that it blurs is because then we're going to kind of lay this piece, lay these other pieces with a greeting, but we still have more to do on our background. Now we're going to take the blending brushes that we had, and we're going to just add the leftover ink that was still on the brushes all the way around. And it does not need to look pretty. We're just trying to get the ink on the paper for a distressed kind of look. We'll take this green and we'll hit the edges, definitely, of all the What's cool about watercolor paper, if you don't know this already, is that you can actually remove color if you don't like what's happening. So for example, this section here is a little bit dark. We'll add some water and we'll lift it up. and we can remove some of that ink. I'm going to add water throughout the piece and lift in certain areas, just like so. And then we're going to put water spots all over it. So let's do that. We're really making a mess. Pick up your water painter, flick, take your paper towel or tissue and daub up that water so that you get speckles. And our last bit of distressing, let's add just a splattering of soft suede. You can do that with your Stampin' Up markers. I have an old trusty tool, this Air Art tool. I do use that, but you can actually, there's lots of ways to achieve this, but let's just do this first. Ooh, I got a big splatter there. Very pretty. You can flick this with your bone folder. Take a long time. There's a lot of ways you can get the splatter, but I like this old art tool that I have. And then we'll set this aside to dry. We'll build the rest of our card around this. For our sentiment, we're going to use the Thinking of You. We'll just take a scrap piece of crumb, and we'll use our soft suede ink that we had out before. We'll need to clear some space. And we're going to stamp Thinking of You. We're going to chop this off into a long border. So we'll just stamp it in the center and hand trim top and bottom. Trim this out. Just like so. I'm not sure which side when we build this card, so we're going to leave it like this for now and trim it shorter. I like to do that when I'm laying a card out on the fly, and I actually think that I like the way this is looking, so maybe we will arrange it somewhat like this and pull in some twigs. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Maybe it needs an acorn. This set has the acorn top and the bottom. Let's do that. Let's also stamp ourselves an acorn. Using our scrap that we still have and the soft suede, let's ink up the top like so. Oh, let's do one more since it kind of stuck. That looks good. And then we will ink our bottom. Let's ink our bottom in crumb cake. What's interesting, what I'm using as the bottom is actually mounted as 3 stamps all together. That's so you can die cut multiples very easily. But I'm just going to ink it up and stamp underneath one so that I have one piece so I don't have too many die cuts. And maybe we want that longer one. Yeah, instead of the fatter one. So let's just ink it. I am only inking that one image. We'll line it up. Look how silly. Looks like the same exact color. Let's stamp it off and see how that looks. Yeah, the stamped off version is much better. Isn't that interesting that my crumb cake on the crumb cake appears as dark as the soft suede? Once that dries down, it will be a little bit lighter, but seriously, that's funny. And because these are one shape here, I'm going to actually hand cut this little acorn out. And now let's decide what color card base we want to put this on. Let's try Old Olive. It's a color I used to use all the time. I don't use it so much, but I think that yellow looks kind of nice with this here. So the yellow-green, I mean. Let's score this, and we can fold it in half. This is 8.5, so half is 4 1/4. We'll fold this in half. Use our bone folder just like so. Yeah, I like the way that's going to look on there. All right, let's mount this. We're going to mount it to the top portion. Leave about a 1/4 inch reveal to the left and the right and the top. We'll use some Stampin' Seal. And arrange that on there like so. We're going to put this right here, but first we might want our greeting, maybe leaving just a little bit, 1/8 of an inch reveal. And I think we want to, I think it would look nice if we just flag this edge. So let's do that. Yes, that looks nice. So let's mount the Thinking of You flat. And we'll put it like so. And I'm going to lightly tack it down in case I need to move it. But, oh, nope, that's good. And then we're going to mount, yeah, we'll put that there. But let's mount that up with some dimensionals. Just take the back side, put one in the middle, a couple around. So this is popped. Form and function. I'm popping it so that it looks more 3-dimensional, but I'm also leaving some room around the outside because I'm not quite sure where I want to tuck these twigs and leaves. Yeah, like so. We'll tack that down. And then these, let's just arrange them and then we'll tack them down to where we think they might look nice. Maybe we just need 3. Oh no, let's put one down here too. Yeah, that looks good. So let's tack those into place. Where are we going to put this guy? Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to use some, we're going to tie a bow around the top of the acorn and just kind of nestle it in there. All right, and then let's get some linen thread. All right, decisions. Linen thread or some of this vanilla twine. I kind of like the vanilla so that it pops. This is baker's twine. Let's just tie a bow and see what it looks like. Yes, nice and tiny. Once you get that shape right, then we can decide where we want to put this. Now, I think that this acorn should be popped up with another dimensional. So let's do that first. I kind of like it nestled in there. We'll trim our tails. I like a longer tail, but we may trim it again once we attach it on here. And then we'll use our fine glue again, just adding a little before we place this down. And then we gotta let that dry. I'd also like to add now just some bling, maybe some warm tones. Let's see what we can find. Let's add some brushed metallic. What colors do we think? I'm kind of feeling this copper. We're just going to put a few randomly 2 there. And maybe 1. Nope, that's good, I think. Yeah. And there you have it. Fun. We painted. We distressed. Actually, I should have distressed this edge beforehand, but I'm thinking a little distressed edge around the outside might add to that. And we're going to do it after the fact and see if we can pull it off. Just taking my fingernail, running it along the edge, dog-earing the corners. It would have been much more efficient before I mounted it on the card, but that's okay. It still works. This is the tricky part right in here. Watercolor paper is great to distress because it's so soft that you can do it with a fingernail. But if you don't have fingernails, just take your pick tool with the hard edge and rub it along the side. Yeah, I think I like that better with those distressed. And there you have it, this cute Thinking of You card using the Ringed with Nature bundle, so that's the stamp set and the dies, and also the Tree Rings Hybrid embossing folder, so the embossing folder that die cuts with those dies. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Charlotte Mallett. You can find more inspirational card ideas on my Instagram, iHeartStamps, or on my blog, which is paintedorange.com.